Good morning, everybody. Welcome to My Place in Nature, our summer learning series for 2021. My name is Emily Foster Hill. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And on behalf of Field Adventures, we would love to welcome you to this summer's learning series. So thank you all for being here. We're so excited that you're here. We look forward to getting to know each and every one of you and look forward to hearing more about who you are and where is your place in nature. So as you're getting settled, and if you're just joining us, please feel free to read others' responses in the chat and add your 2 cents as well. So on behalf of Field Adventures, I would like to introduce each of our wonderful team members. Left to right, we have in our photos here, Victoria Rydberg-Nania, and if Victoria can give us a wave. Good morning, Victoria. Sandy Benton. Sandy Benton's here. Cheryl Schnell. And Ashley Hegwald. There's Ashley and myself, Emily Foster Hill. We're also grateful to be joining and working with all of you throughout these next few weeks. And if you have any questions for us throughout this period of time, please reach out to Victoria for technical issues. You're welcome to call or text her at the number here, 608-628-3871. And we've included that in the chat, and you also received an email with that phone number as well. So if you need that, please feel free to ask us again, 608-628-3871. All right. And moving forward, we like to thank, before we start, all of our wonderful sponsors. Throughout the summer learning series, we had a series of Wisconsin teacher fellowships that were supported by a number of different groups, including National Geographic Society. We have the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. We also have NOAA and the Wisconsin Coastal Management Program, without which we would not have as much support as we do. And we're so grateful that all of you signed up for those fellowships. So thank you. And before we begin our sessions today, we would like to pause for a moment and reflect on a land acknowledgement. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge, recognize, and respect the Indigenous people and lands that we are on throughout this training. And given that this is a statewide training, and also we might have participants from outside of the state, we are going to invite you in a moment, or as you're ready in the chat, to also include and honor the Indigenous people and lands upon which you currently reside. In respect to Wisconsin, we directly recognize the American Indian nations and tribal communities past, present, and future as being the stewards of the land and their continued relationship to their traditional territories. In order to help establish a broader insight into land, cultures, and tribal sovereignty, we acknowledge and honor the inherent sovereignty of Wisconsin's 11 federally recognized American Indian nations and tribal communities. Those include the Red Cliff, La Courterie, St. Croix, Ho-Chunk, Bad River, Lac du Flambeau, Forest County, Potawatomi, Mole Lake, Sokeogon, Menominee, Stockbridge, Muncie, Oneida, and the Brotherton communities. Thank you. And next, I would love to turn over our opening to my colleague, Ashley Hegwald.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ashley, and I'm a field coach for Field Adventures. As we begin, I wanted to draw your attention to the "my" in our title of our summer learning series, My Place in Nature. Throughout our time together, we will be learning about our near nature in our state and ways to engage the students we work with in those locations. However, I really wanted to focus on you and your place in nature and how that kind of fills you up, and practice mindfulness in that place. Because, overall, summer is a place for educators to kind of take the time to care for themselves, to refuel, so that you can continue to do the great work you do as educators. So I will give you, throughout our time together, some mindfulness moments. So if you would love to participate with me. Feel free to mute and your video if that feels more comfortable for you to be in your space. Um, and our theme for day one, next slide please, is come back to center, to the my, to you. And when we think of centered as a mindfulness practice, it's this place that you can move through life from, in a place of awareness, intentionality, and balance. So, using our breath as a strategy to be mindful on our day one, we are going to bring ourselves back to our center. And I really like the analogy of a tree. Trees having a very interconnected network of leaves, trunk, and roots, but the trunk kind of connects them all. And we, or the center, would be that heart of the tree and the trunk. So feel free to turn off your video and just kind of get into your breath as we do a little guided imagery. Imagine you are out on a limb of a tree. We tend to get ourselves kind of away from center very easily in life. So this might feel very real at times, that we are out on this limb of a tree. We feel quite unstable. We feel quite out of balance, maybe even a little bit on edge. Taking 5 breaths, we are going to bring ourselves back to center. So go ahead and breathe in. Imagine yourself standing up on that branch, finding a little bit of balance and preparing yourself to move. On your second breath, you are slowly and carefully moving towards the stronger branches in the inner parts of the tree. On your third breath, you have found a notch in the tree where it's feeling sturdy. The branch is starting to come to the trunk. Breath 4, you are making your way down the trunk. You're shimmying yourself down the trunk of the tree. And on your last breath, you have reached the ground. You have reached the trunk. You are sitting, resting your back against the trunk. You are feeling stable. You are feeling safe. You are feeling secure. You have found your center. And from this place, you can move throughout your day with awareness, intentionality, and balance. You have found my place in nature. Thank you for participating. I'm going to turn it over to Sandy, who's going to get us started for our day.
Well, thank you, Ashley. That was a really great way to center myself. And, I felt a little bit out there on the limb this morning with the excitement of having all of you here today. And now I'm feeling really great that you're here and things are working well. Welcome, everyone. I thank Ashley for leading us through that experience and Emily for leading us off today. As we so often do, we start out with an essential question. So again, I'm Sandy Benton, one of the field coaches. And our essential question today is, how can we use our place to transform student learning? And specifically thinking of that place where students are learning from, your school community. And we'll be revisiting this question through the day and through the next 4 days online together, as well as when we come together for our in-person days, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So now it is my very distinct pleasure to introduce today, our keynote speaker. So I was so excited that when we received the financial support from National Geographic, we received the announcement for the grant to be able to host this summer learning series. And then National Geographic had an opportunity that came into my inbox about bio blitzes with students. And I participated in it, and Willie Buford, our keynote speaker, was just a fabulous presenter. And I just had to invite Willie, and he was so gracious to accept the opportunity to be here today. So I thank you for that, Willie. And I without any further ado, would like to introduce Willie. He's a National Geographic Certified Educator. He is a site manager for Youth Quest in Flint, Michigan. And Willie has used bio blitzes with students to phenomenal results. He's going to share some of that and really inspire us today with his experience and all the things that are happening in his after-school community programs, and how that we might be able to transform our work with students through bio blitzes. So please join me in welcoming Willie Buford. Hi, Willie.
Hello, good morning, Sandy. And once again, thank you for this opportunity to partake in the great work that you guys are doing here at Field Adventures and Wisconsin. Thank you to the Field Adventures team for having me. I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk to you guys about what is our place in nature. So before I get started, let me make sure I can share. Am I sharing my screen now?
Not yet. And I also, as a presenter, if you can't have enough bandwidth and you don't have distractions in your background, it's always nice when participants leave their cameras on.
Okay, yes, definitely. Thank you for that, Sandy. So as Sandy led you guys in saying, my name is Willie Buford. I am the CEO and founder of the Power for Living Edventures LLC. In addition to that, I'm a site manager with the Youth Quest program here in Flint, Michigan. The Youth Quest program comes out of our Flint and Genesee Chamber of Commerce. We like to call ourselves commerce on steroids, so much so that we just rebranded. We're now the Flint and Genesee Group. And what we do is we try to train and retain our local talent. So we want to get these babies from kindergarten, and even, we have programs that are paying for students to go to college once they graduate from Flint schools. So just a little bit about that. Once again, it's an honor and a privilege to share with you my experiences and the processes that I've adopted to understand, trust, and respect what my place in nature is. My hope is through my journey, I can offer you guys a template or a set of principles, if you will, that can guide you in developing and to being more responsible stewards of our community, and that's a community on all scales. To have this, so while I have been a part of many different presentations, many different workshops, this is actually my very first solo keynote presentation. So I'm really excited to be here, and that Sandy reached out to me to have this be my first keynote speech. We are sharing an inevitable event in nature right now. And today we are going to dive into what is our place in nature. So we're going to do that first by looking at nature's and its different meanings, the word nature and its different meanings. We're going to take a look at its top 3 probabilities. And because I'm a Gemini, I want you guys to roll with me. We're going to do it in abstract and in concrete, okay? So a little bit about me. Who am I? I was born and raised here in Flint, Michigan. I'm born to a single mother with 4 children. We grew up in, I guess you can say I grew up in poverty. I really didn't know it because of the love that was surrounded. You know, you really don't know a thing until you get outside of that thing, right? So I went through school. Throughout my childhood, I was always chosen to be the leader. I was the leader of a bar club. There was an old lady who stayed next door to me named Mrs. C. And Mrs. C used to do these popcorn balls and these slushies, and she would do these things for the kids in the neighborhood, but she would also be teaching us how to take care of and clean up our neighborhood, right? Help the neighbors cut the grass, pick up trash when you see it. And out of all the kids on the block, she chose me to be the leader of this group. I wasn't the oldest. I wasn't the youngest. I wasn't the smartest, the strongest, the fastest. It was just something that she's seen in me that it took me a while to see in myself a little bit longer. From there, I went to high school where I was a part of the Naval Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. So once again, that spirit of serving and being a servant continued on. After graduating high school, I went straight to the military, U.S. Army, where I had a chance to, live in Germany and kind of see a lot of Europe. So I'm definitely grateful for those experiences. Coming home from the military, I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was an infantry soldier, so those skills really don't transfer over too well in civilian world unless you're going to be a police officer. And I had just been kind of done with the government at that time, so I wanted to kind of step back and find who I was. Through that, I met a young lady who would eventually become my wife. I became a manager in different restaurants around the city. So Burger King, McDonald's. We have a local spot here. If you ever come to Flint, Michigan, you have to try a Halo Burger. Amazing food. Side note. Anyway, so yeah, so started a family from there. Got into church where I found my passion, right? My passion was working with kids. So started doing vacation Bible schools, started doing Sunday school lessons for the students. And then eventually I found myself in college for the first time with 5 kids at the age of 31, going in to be an educator. In that, that's where I found my place in Youth Quest, where I found out that being a non-formal educator was more for me because it allowed me a chance to really connect with the community in a way where I can be myself. And what I like to say is keep it real or keep it real, right? That's the hashtag you guys are going to see throughout this presentation today is how I have been keeping it real. Okay. So what are our objectives today? So this is a roadmap to your place in nature. I'm going to share with you the processes that I put myself through to understand where I'm at in nature. All right, so we're going to look at, and I know this is, if you're looking at these objectives and you've been in as many presentations and workshops as I have, these look a little odd, right? I have an objective that says the phenomena of the physical world, the basic or inherent features, and the innate or essential qualities. So objective is the phenomena. The perspective is your world, and the activation of that is understanding. Remember, guys, I said I'm a Gemini, so I like to work in an abstract. So I want you guys to work with me here a little bit, right? Go with me on this journey, and I promise you we'll get some concrete things at the end. Another objective is the features. That's the perspective is you, and the activation is trust. Also, qualities, right? Your contributions and respect. So we looked at the other way around, where it could probably make a little more sense from the beginning is the first objective is understanding your world through your phenomena. So through how you were raised and the world around you, what you were taught, what you grew up in. The other one is trusting you and your basic and inherent features and respecting your contributions as essential qualities to our community. All right, so then before we get started, of course, we have to have some community understandings. I know that I am in a setting full of professionals, so I'll start off there by saying, let's be professional. We're here at this community park together. You guys know we've been doing this virtual for about 1.5 years almost now. So show up professional, mute yourself. If you are on camera and you need to take care of yourself, please go ahead and take care of yourself. Use the bathroom, use the restroom if you wish, take drinks of water if that's what it is that you need to do at that time. And also share your gifts, right? There are going to be some questions here. We are a community, and what makes communities thrive is when each member shares their gift. So, and I like how, I believe it was Sandy or I'm not sure who started by saying, we're going to look at your place in nature, right? So here are those 3 probabilities of nature through its definition that we're going to look at. First is the phenomena of the physical world collectively. That's including plants, animals, the landscape, other features and products of the earth. And this definition says, as opposed to human or human creations. So we're going to look at changing that as opposed to, and look at it in relation to, because this is me, your, and our place in nature. The second thing is the basic inherent features of something, especially when seen as characteristics of it. That's something that we're going to take a look at. The basic inherent features of is you, the basic inherent features of ourselves, especially when seen as the characteristics of who we are. And the third one we're going to take a look at is the innate and essential qualities of character of a person or animal. So definitely of a person. This definition really dives into that person piece, the innate and essential qualities or character that you guys come with, your innate and essential qualities. All right, so let's start with our first exercise today. I would like to be able to see you guys' face for a second. Okay, so the first exercise is your connection to nature. What are 3 ways that you connect with nature? Now, for example, you can grow something. You can be growing a garden in your backyard or one of those hanging gardens in your front porch. Going for a walk. You can let nature in, opening up your windows, blinds, and curtains. And even doors, allowing sunlight and nature and air and natural air to flow into your home, like giving it a more relaxing and natural atmosphere. Observe, right? Some of us like to spend time each day outside observing what's happening around us. Going for a walk, right? It doesn't matter if you walk in a local park, around a neighborhood, around the mall even. Getting outside exposure and exercising are good for your health and strength. Stargazing, visiting bodies of water. Let me stop sharing for a second. Okay. So let's think about that. What are 3 ways? That's spiral. So those are 3 different ways I want you to think about how you connect to nature. Think about the closest one, the one that's closest to you, the one that you probably engage in the most, and then let's scale our way out. What I want to do is have you guys think about that for a minute, send you out in breakout rooms and kind of have that conversation. And then we'll bring you back in a couple of minutes and have you kind of share out through chat what are some of the ways that we all connect to nature. So I'm just going to assign manual automatically, if that's okay, team. a few breakout rooms. I see we have 40 participants. So let's go 8 breakout rooms. That sounds good. And then we'll bring you guys back here in about 3 or 4 minutes. All right, welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys had some great conversations around how you connect in nature. And I like to know some of that. So if you guys don't mind sharing in the chat, what are some of the ways you discuss how you how you connect to nature? Some of those things that you find yourself doing all the time, some of those things that you moderately do, and some of those things that every once in a while you need to do to connect to nature.
And now you might want to provide that prompt again.
All right. So in the chat box, if you will, Field Adventures team, put down some of those ways that you guys just discussed how you connect to nature. Some of those things that are really close to you that you find yourself doing a lot of times, some of those connections that happen moderately, and some of those connections that are a little more spaced out, that it's not so much, but you still enjoy doing it. We're seeing some good things here. Bird watching with the kids, seeking out interaction with water. Definitely, I love the kayak now. My group walks to water bodies, rivers and lakes. That's something that Wisconsin and Michigan share. We definitely share Lake Michigan and all of its different tributaries as well. Going on walks, spending time at the river. Yes, yes, yes. So definitely with this Field Adventures group, we can see that you guys don't take it for granted and get out there and connect with nature. So let's get back to the presentation. Thank you. All right, so your connection to nature, we looked at the 3 ways that you connect with nature. So we know that there is a connection there. We're going to look at nature in a completely different way going forward, right? So we're going to get a little, like I said, into that abstract and kind of bring it more concrete. So we're going to look at nature as the nature in us, and how do we fit in with nature? Okay. So, like I said, this is the first my keynote presentation under the guise of my Powerful Living business. The Powerful Living business is a childhood idea that my cousin Shanji, who just passed a couple of weeks ago, he started this PFL idea. So this is in his honor, sharing with you guys the powerful living in our place in nature. Shanji was the kind of person who was always real in who he was, and in his truth, we were able to overcome a lot of the places that we were in life through understanding, trust, and respect. So understanding my place, the phenomena, right? So it is that piece where we were talking about that first definition, where we talked about the phenomena of your physical world and the things around you that kind of help build who you are. And in that, my first phenomenon, my first place of understanding of nature was my family. It was the first experience in nature. It helped me to understand myself in relation to the world around me, and it also helped build tolerance, right? You guys know about your family. And a good thing about family is that you gotta love them no matter what, right? But in your family, you can find all of the different things that will prepare you for the world, right? You have that auntie, that uncle, that cousin, your mom, your brother, your sister, like all these different relationships take on different forms. And it also prepares you for relationships that you will have going out into the real world, you know, once you start to step out of that thing. And it really is that first social emotional learning piece, right? Happens right there in your home. Understanding when, why, and who in your family needs to be watered, pruned, what hard ground in your family needs to be tilled, et cetera, right? How much more with our animals in our family. We just got a rescue cat named Nick, and he has not been wanting to live in our house for a while. Every chance he got, he would dart out that door and be gone for a couple of days. But now he's trusting us. He had a little limp. He's, you know, where he couldn't move around good. He's jumping up on the cabinets, and he's really beginning to understand his place in our family now, as we are also beginning to understand, you know, how do we fit in his world as well. So that understanding, trust, and respect comes up again. Adapting and overcoming, right? That is my motto. And your family teaches you that first, right? That phenomenon that when you are born into the world, you're beginning. For me, I always believed everything that my mom told me, like to the bone. I was in 7th grade when I found out Santa Claus wasn't real. And 5th and 6th grade, I argued all my classmates because my mom told me that Santa Claus was real. I don't care what you guys are finding out right now. So that kind of broke me, and it opened my eyes up a lot. That in order for me to trust, I got to have the truth, right? Once I have the truth, I'm able to understand. And understanding and that trust together equals respect. I am getting ahead of myself. I'm a Gemini. I'm a little airy, but I promise you, in the end, this is all going to make sense. Your basic and inherent features is trust. Trusting yourself, trusting the skill set that you have learned from that first piece, from what you've grown up in. Trusting that where you are in life is and the skills that you have are for you, and that they're not wrong. So let's take a look at I talked about our family, right? And all the different variations we got. And it's kind of on the scale, you know, on a larger scale of, I'm thinking about the Goldilocks with the bear, Goldilocks and the 3 bears story. So the story of the 3 bears, I know we all know, but I didn't know this, is a literary fairy tale. And it was written by Robert Southey, and first published in 1837 in a collection of essays and stories. Southey's story was actually about an ugly old woman who enters the house of 3 bachelor bears during their absence. She eats their food, breaks a chair, and sleeps in a bed. My question is, if you were Goldilocks or in Goldilocks situations, which bear's items would you choose? And why do you think Goldilocks chose the bear she chose? So think about where you are in your place in life right now. And you became Goldilocks in that story. And you walked into this house, and there were the 3 different options there. Let me stop sharing for a minute. What would you choose? And we can share this information in the chat if you will. Where are you at in life right now? Which bear would you choose? Which porridge would you eat? Which bed would you sleep in? and why? Mama bear. I tend to be a caretaker. You're a mom, so you would choose mama bear. That's right. We got a lot of mama bears in here. I am always not so hot, so cold person. Sounds refreshing. I am always hard on myself, so I need a little softness. That's good. That's a sense of awareness. I would probably choose the hottest porch since I like hot foods, the softest bed and chair. So all the way around, right? If I remember correctly, Mama Bear had the softest bed and chair, so I take those. Mama Bear. Baby Bear, because I like to learn all the time, grow, and I like a challenge. Now that I think about it, I don't think I would enter a bear's home. Mama Bear, her chair and bed are probably not worn out. She's always up on her feet. So the purpose of this exercise was to show that we are all, although we have a lot of mama bears in this room, we are all in different places. And what makes whose place wrong or right? We have to trust that the place that we are in is the right place for us to be. And that changes during different times. A lot of these mama bears now were baby bears before, right? So in that baby bear period in your life, you probably would have chose, the things that a baby bear. I'm a papa bear. I definitely would have chose, some of those papa bear things as well. But the basic thing is, this is your basic and inherent features. What makes you you? And that's what we have to trust. That's your characteristics, right? That second definition was your characteristics. This is who you are, derived from your upbringing. The world, so it's from the world and how you understand it. Okay, let me go back to the slide. Share. So mama bears is not going to choose to be in the papa bear's chair seat, bed, or eat that porridge. But does that make it wrong? It's just not right for you, and it's not that place for you. So some things are not your place in nature, and that's okay. It's correlated. So what is your place in nature is correlated to the nature in you. And you have to be able to trust some of those places that's not your place, and respect each other and what we bring to the table, those pieces we bring. We all fit together like a puzzle. The end piece of the puzzle might not be able to understand the nature or the responsibility that the middle piece has. But the end piece must trust that middle piece, because we all fit together. And without that middle piece's skills, the puzzle would never be complete. Remember, we're talking about our place in nature. What is our place in nature? It's to understand who we are, understand who we're not, understand the gifts and the gifts that we bring. My place in nature is to be a steward. I told you guys a little bit about my journey and how I got into the profession that I am. My place in nature comes from stewardship. I've always been a servant leader, if you will, even before I even knew what that was. I remember when I came out the military, I said I had great followership skills, right? And I didn't realize that is what a servant leader is to a certain extent. I talked about my cousin Sean, who passed, and he left behind 2 little girls. And my brother Dennis, who passed a couple years before that. and he left behind 2 sons and a daughter, and they're all gone. And I cannot be, and my place in nature is not to be their fathers. I can't step up in that role and be their fathers, right? But what I can do is I can speak to them to the understanding and the trust that I had from both my cousin and my brother. And I can give them a piece of the nature that they came from. I can't stand in the role of their father because that isn't my place, but I can definitely share with them who their fathers were and my stewardship. To understand the root of the fruit, you have to understand first the root of the fruit in order to caretake. To caretake your whatever fills in the blank after that. You have to understand the root of the fruit in order to caretake. Your innate or essential qualities. So this is the next piece, that last definition, if you will. Your innate essential qualities are, so first we talked about, how you were bringing your, how you were raised, your upbringing, the world around you, how you grew up, how you learned the world. That's your understanding. Then we talked about trust, trusting that how you learned the world and how that formed you is good enough for the mission that we are at hand. Now, the next thing is the respect. You have to respect, if you're an end puzzle piece, you have to respect that middle puzzle piece as well, right? And respect has to be given in order to be received as well. So when it comes to nature, a lot of times we feel as if it's best not to disturb nature, right? Sometimes my place is out of the way. Move out its way and let it do what it does. Let it do what it needs to be done. Here is a picture of me in Yellowstone. Through my experiences as a National Geographic Educator, I've been able to go to Yellowstone a couple of times in my life. And this is the Grand Prismatic I'm at right now. One of the features of Yellowstone is that, wildlife gets to be. Wild is inhabited and untouched, right? That's the thing. When you're walking along these planks, you'll see signs everywhere. Don't feed the animals. Stay on the path. Don't get off on the beaten. Don't get off of the beaten path. And kind of a lot of these geysers and things like that. Don't throw trash in the geysers. Pretty much look, but don't touch. Kind of idea of how Yellowstone works, right? So is that how we feel sometimes? Is it best for us in our place when we understand and trust who we are? Is respecting nature, is it best to not disturb it, to move out of its way and let it do what it does? Let us have a short conversation about that. So we're going to stop sharing here for a minute. I'm going to come back to where I can see your faces. And let's go back into another breakout room, Victoria. Can we send those same groups back into the same breakout room?
How long would you like them to stay in breakout rooms to discuss this question?
So let's go another 5 minutes.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to reopen your rooms and you'll be invited to join.
So the question is, What's your philosophy? Is nature something that's better undisturbed, or should we be hands-on? All right. Welcome back, everyone. So the question was, what's your philosophy? Are we hands-on with nature, or should we be or should we step back a little bit and just let nature does what it does? So drop it in the chat to me. You know, what are some of the discussions that you guys had? What are some thoughts that you had? And then we can keep it going forward. Hands-on, find a balance, definitely. Kids learn best through experiential experiences. Very true. Very true. Thank you for saying that, Kathy. Depends on the situation. Definitely, as I reflect on my time in classroom, I don't think I've ever asked this. That may be an old one. It depends, definitely factor in the time, place, and purpose of the interaction with nature. Definitely, and we'll get into that in just a second. So when I looked at this, my place in nature, I looked at it as a question. What is our place in the principle of nature is what I've had to ask myself from that question. And we're talking about that respect piece now. I have had respected positions in my lifetime. None was more respected when I became the chairman of the deacon board. Once again, I wasn't raised in a church. I didn't come to the church until after, you know, I got married and started having children, excuse me. But I became a deacon and didn't know really what a deacon's role was. And I found out that a deacon is pretty much like the lunch lady or the custodian of our place in nature, right? The purpose of the deacon was originally created to distribute and to serve. So my place in nature as that steward, distributing and serving. Let's get back to the slide. So what you guys said is definitely true. The question is, where I'm coming from, you guys may have heard of the Flint water crisis and some of the things that are going there. So it can survive without men's interference. But the question is, can it thrive without man's stewardship? Here on the left, we have a picture of the Flint River, and this was after a lot of waste had been spilled into the river. On the right, what we have is the man's stewardship, some of the different programs and the cleanings that we've been doing of the Flint River, and we can see it thrive now. So why it can survive without man's interference, it was here before us. It can't thrive without our stewardship because we depend on that river, and we have to be a part of the process of keeping it healthy. Same with some of your rivers here. I hope I don't murder these names. I've been practicing the Menominee, I'm gonna just say the Kenny River, the Kinnick, and the Milwaukee River. We know that it can survive without man's interference, looking at the history of these three grand rivers that you guys have here in Wisconsin. We know that it was man's interference that definitely changed its conditions. And now we know that it can thrive, or can it thrive without man's stewardship? Those essential and innate qualities that we all come together, that we all bring together to be able to help nature thrive. We have to understand it. We have to trust who we are in it. And we also have to respect the innate and essential qualities that we can bring to help to help nature thrive, right? So the next questions is, how? How is it done? How do you answer the call of service in your world in areas that relate to your interests and add values to the cause? Why is it there? What is it? When? Where? Is this your place, and how? So if you guys would join me when we go to the workout session, we're going to talk about the National Geographic BioBlitz and how this BioBlitz, as Sandy alluded to earlier, allows us to be in a space where we can show our children how to collect data about nature around them, how to assess that data, and then how to plan forward through different programs like GeoInquiry, how to plan, how to help nature thrive in our communities. So the last thing that I want to say is our biggest place in nature. And this is once you come to understand, trust, and respect who you are in nature, and understand, trust, and respect what's around nature, the nature around you. The last thing is self-care. Recently, we took a trip, we took our site team leaders, and there are 13 of them, on a trip to Mackinac City. If you guys don't know where Mackinac City is in Michigan, here we go, I'll come back to you. If this is Michigan, Michigan is always the state you can carry on your hand. If this is Michigan, Mackinac City sits right at the tip. And when you cross over the UP, you have Mackinac Island right here off to the side, and Lake Huron is where Lake Huron and Lake Michigan meets, right there at the top. So we took our site team leaders on a trip up there. It was a self-care retreat after this challenging year, with the pandemic and things of that nature. It was the first time we were able to come together. When we got up there, there were a couple of hotels that we went to at first that just didn't fit the standards that we wanted to have. This is a self-care retreat. We didn't want our staff to come up there and be fighting off bugs and all kind of insects and things of that nature, or dealing with dirty rooms and stuff like that, right? So we got up there. It was me and it was the team. It was me and a couple more ladies, and we were just kind of hotel hopping around the city, trying to find the best hotel. Not that we hadn't planned before, but we definitely didn't go ahead and check out. So we just had a day to do that. We were able to get these things done, kind of change our whole agenda that we were going to do, and wind up, and much like, we do in our work, the behind the scenes work that we do for our students and our community, a lot of that goes unseen when that service happens, right? The students don't know all the work that it put in to be able to give them a great program a lot of times. Same thing with those site team leaders. But the next day we took a trip to Mackinac Island, and I was dealing with the death of my family, and also all these different changes that had happened, trying to get this retreat together. And we had different activities that we could do. A lot of people chose to, ride horses, ride on horse buggies. Mackinac Island, of course, is an island that does not allow motorized vehicles. So what I did was jumped on a bike. And I rode and rode and rode. And in Mackinac Island, there are many different trails. So I would jump off my bike, and this is really where I got that self-care, just kind of connecting back to nature. When we are stewards and help nature thrive, nature gives us that back. I got off that bike and I walked through those different trails, and I danced, and I cried, and I sung. And it was just everything I was giving nature, it was giving me back. And that is our role. That is our place in nature, to understand, trust, and respect it. Through understanding, trusting, and respecting who we are and who we show up in nature. And when we do that, that's us taking care of nature. And that also is reciprocated because nature then takes care of us. With that being said, guys, this is the end of my presentation. We have a few minutes left here, and I would like to open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Willie. This was so great. If you'd like to have a question, you'd like to unmute yourself, or if you want to use the reaction tools and raise hands, we can call on folks.
Thank you. I do appreciate you guys going on that journey with me. Like I said, I know I'm a Gemini, so I know it was a little airy at first, but definitely hope I was able to bring it down to the concrete for you.
Well, I would like to express my condolences for the losses in your family, and that, as many of us have experienced, it's never an easy thing. And so I want to express that. And also, I've found it interesting that you found that place in nature and what you needed at that time, that you turned in grief and loss, like at least some of the time, to nature, and kind of making a connection to what our students might need, and maybe they don't yet know that would be a helpful opportunity for them to be outside and have that space.
So I see a question from Misty here. She's asking me, how do you invite children to express and recognize their phenomena, especially those that are young? I think children who are young are just kind of understanding the world around them. So not only, I think the best way to do it is, well, there are a lot of different activities that you can do. Journaling is one for students, drawing, and then just allowing them that space to be free and safe enough to say how they feel about what they're experiencing. So, kind of giving them those experiences, and then kind of having those reflection tools where they can express to you how they feel. And we know we have different children, so that's why we have to come with all the different learning styles. So for those who like, the auditory, let them speak it. Visual, let them draw it. Kinetic or kinesthetic, if it takes for them to act it out, or whatever ways that, that best fit. Thank you for that question, Ms.
Mm-hmm. Great question. So, Willie, are there times when you've seen a shift in some of the students? There's connections here. People are saying, oh, this would be great social emotional learning opportunities in nature. Do you have any anecdotes of some students that you've just really seen transformation in them?
Yes, and I will share this in my workout, in my workshop session. But I'll give you guys a prelude. So my own students, I'm a father of 5 myself, and I live in Flint, Michigan now. I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan, but my children weren't. They were born out in the suburbs, so they heard the spooky, scary stories of Flint also. And so when we moved to Flint, my children, they drew back. They stopped going outside. They were afraid of, the different crime rates and things of that nature. And then also, We didn't live too far away from the Flint River, and they absolutely did not want anything to do with the Flint River. And it was through bio-blitzing and geo-inquiry where they were able to go out in nature, understand what was going on and what it looked like, trust the experts that came in and let them know, hey, if you see this kind of insect around your river, if you see these kind of insects around your river, that shows that the river is thriving. So after they got that information, they became advocates for the Flint River. And like I said, we do a lot of kayaking of the Flint River. So I was able to really see that mindset happen in my house. Flint is a city with a lot of pride, like I'm pretty sure a lot of the cities where you guys come from is as well. This was once a place where people around the world would come to find out about community education and things of that nature, and it has definitely fallen off. We are rebuilding it, but my kids never had that sense of pride in Flint. Like I said, they didn't want to be a part of what was going on in Flint until they were able to understand and learn more about it.
Thank you. We have another question from Susie, and the question is, what advice do you have for engaging local businesses, organizations, and other stakeholders with your students as they're exploring places in nature, or like suggestions on how to create those partnerships?
Definitely. And so I definitely had experience with this within that National Geographic Geo-Inquiry, where I was working with a group of 8th grade summer scholars. Like I said, a lot of this will come out in that workshop. But definitely, I believe that first of all, activate your and empower your students as much as business owners, city administration, and these people like to hear from us. They're hearing from adults all the time. But empower your students to have those conversations as well. Empower your students to make those acts as well. One of the things that the students noticed where we were at was that around our liquor stores, which there is an abundance of liquor stores in Flint, Michigan, way more than is needed. There's a lot of trash. There's a lot of blight and things of that nature. So they went out to their councilman and said, hey, in your ward, we're seeing this. Will you go with me and have this conversation with the store owner about just putting out trash barrels and signs that say, please put your trash here. So those kind of things, right? Empowering the students, let them discover different things as well, and then guide them as far as having those conversations and, having those acts for those business owners and different stakeholders as well. Also, there are many experts in our cities as well. With my own children, the ones who I reached out to was the Flint River Clean Project. And they were the ones who were able to show my students different things about the Flint River because Dad has Flint pride already, so they didn't care about what Dad was saying. But when they can hear from different scientists and different experts of the community and from these different organizations and universities, it really stuck with them. So that's what my suggestions would be.
Thank you. Candace, does that kind of get at your question about river cleanup organizations?
Yeah, that's funny that he answered it while I was typing it practically.
I think we have time for just one more question. Willie, would you elaborate, please, on your Power for Living business, like the history of it and the community and population served?
Yes, definitely. So actually, it was something. It was like I said, it is the brainchild of my cousin LaShawn, who brought us all together, and we were in dark places in our life as youth. And his idea of powerful living was giving back to the community that understanding, trust, and respect that helped him overcome, if you will, help us to I mean, if I can keep it 100% real with you guys, I was raised in an environment in the 80s. So a lot of the men in our family became incarcerated. They were in and out of prison, right? On drugs, alcoholics. So, and these were the men that we had to look up to. And at one point we knew that we couldn't go down the same path that they were going down, right? So we had to understand, trust, and respect who we were and ourselves. So while that was his brainchild, it actually got established a few years ago with my connection with National Geographic. In order for me to do some things with them, I definitely had to have my own business, and this was definitely what it was. And it is a consultancy business where I work with different after-school organizations and just help them find solutions to a lot of the different problems that students face. Right, it's that empowerment piece again. Helping you have tools to empower your community by understanding who you are in that community.
Well, thank you. We'll save the chat and these follow-up questions, and then could I get them to you, and that maybe we could continue dialoguing through email or in our community that Victoria is going to talk about in just a little bit. Would that be all right, Willie?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you so much for this time this morning with a keynote with you. And I know most of us will be able to join for the workshop today. So will you join me, please, in sharing your appreciation for Willie and his keynote today. First keynote, you nailed it. So you can show yourself applauding on screen, or you can use the reaction key or put your thanks in the chat. I so appreciate your time this morning, Willie, and we'll see you again at 11 for your workshop, little with more detail on the BioBlitz and what that's been meant for kids and for your community. So thank you so much. And I would just like to lead the whole group here in a little bit of reflection, going back to our essential question. How can we use our place in nature? I should add that into that, shouldn't I? To transform student learning. So what have you heard? Like, what are your guts right now? What did you get out of this time together? What are your needs? What do you need next? And maybe we'll be able to steer you towards some resources or people, or together we can problem solve this, or find a way. And I invite you, if you'd like to unmute, or if you would like to use the chat, that's entirely up to you. Look inside before we look outside. Like that understanding of yourself, your place, where you come from. Allowing kids to explore their passions.
Willie, I wanted to just say that your phrase of must understanding the root of the fruit in order to understand really resonated. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing your personal stories as well, and say that kind of connection that I've had or have pursued with students in the past has been the most transformational in my observations in learning outdoors, especially in helping them feel comfortable wherever they are, wherever they're coming from, knowing it can be their place if it's not their place yet. And just hearing you today and hearing more, I'm looking forward to hearing more later, and knowing that coming from that approach can really transform their learning tremendously. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily. And you're welcome.
Really, it points to the importance of relationships.
You got to reach them to teach them, right?
Right. And wherever you are is the right place. I'm hearing, like, I'm kind of synthesizing some of these appreciations for understanding, trust, respect framework. And we'll just we'll let the comments kind of roll here. I know sometimes it takes me a while to get those on, depending on the device I'm on and my connection. So please keep reacting as you'd like to, and as you're so moved. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Victoria. And Victoria has a tool and community that she'd like to share with all of us before we head out to break.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share with you kind of how we're organizing the summer learning series over these 4 days and where you can find everything for our sessions. So there was so much great information. And like I said at the beginning, we are recording these. We are going to save these recordings. So if you want to go back and watch this again in the next couple of weeks and be inspired all over again by Willie, we are going to host these videos within our online community. So if you have not joined our online community, you should. You all received an invitation last night to join this specific workshop. So just those people who are registered for the 2021 My Place in Nature Summer Learning got the invitation to join our workshop online. So if you go to connectexploreengage.org, it's our online community of educators within the state, within Wisconsin, and also extending through our borders. And you'll see those people who are here today outside of Wisconsin. And it's a place for us to just connect with other educators who want to connect with nature, who want to take learning outside, to share resources, to get ideas. But it's also the place where we're hosting this workshop. And so when you go to connectexploreengage.org today or anytime, you are going to find in there a tab called workshops, and you have each received an invitation to hold on just a second. All right, so sorry, I just got interrupted by my little guy. So you're going to find a workshop tab where you can find My Place in Nature Summer Learning, and within that session, you're going to find an outline and a schedule for every day. And so every day kind of looks the same over our 4 days. So you can kind of get that schedule in your mind. So we'll start every morning with session 1, which is a longer opening, and it's kind of our connection. Our second session is session 2 is kind of our explore session, where we're going to be looking at skills and strategies throughout these 4 days together. Over the lunch period, we have an optional Project Wet workshop that you had an option to sign up for when we started. And if you still would like to do that, let me know. And then after lunch, we're going to dive into session 3, which is really going to be looking at some place-based learning for all. How do we address some issues of equity in our classrooms, outside of our classrooms? And then we'll end the day every day with some inspiration for engagement, bringing in some stories from the field. So each of the presenters for each of the 4 days, every session is outlined with their bio, with a little description for most of them. And then in addition, we have created some asynchronous learning opportunities, some additional resources that we have pulled from our archives over doing virtual learning for the last 1.5 years, or things that we have pulled from other people's archives to really try to give you more resources to move forward. So if you have not connected with connectexploreengage.org and want support, stay on this break and I will help you get connected there. Otherwise, please just check that out, and every day you'll get to walk through our sessions, so you'll know where you'll need to be and where the links are to come into this Zoom room. So that's what I wanted to share with you about our online community, and we hope we'll see you there. So it is just about 10:30. During this next 30 minutes, get up, take a screen break, head outside to find your place in nature. Do what you need to do to get ready to come back to learning with Willie and dive into a BioBlitz experience, or an understanding how that BioBlitz went, so that we can really learn more about this awesome resource that you can bring into your classroom this fall.